Mate, it's good to be sat back, just the two of us
Yeah,
having a
man.
chat about pretty much anything we want to talk about.
For sure. And I think, I guess, there has been a big announcement this morning as well. I think we should.
Dia went for a 5K run. That is the
That's one. Yeah, that's one.
That is the big announcement.
The other one is I saw on your Instagram that you're doing another.
Yeah, it's been
ultra
a
run.
little while. It's been a little while. It's
Amazing.
time to get back into the ultra life.
Amazing.
And yeah, I was just, as I said in the post, mate, it's been a pretty difficult 18 months. You've been side by side through all of that, especially with the business, with managing 140 people and making sure everything stays together, and it's been difficult. And I relied a lot on mindset and I suppose mental resilience that had been built through ultra running over the years. A lot of sort of chasing those adventures, extreme environments, that sort of thing. And I didn't want to take that for granted. And I felt that it was time to get back into that space and do another one. So yeah,
that's it, right? Another one. I mean, we were chatting just a few minutes ago and you said this is your fifth.
Yeah, I mean,
insane.
depends how you classify them, but like in terms of the longer ones, yeah.
Yeah, anything for me over 5K is a long one, but
that doesn't classify as an ultra.
I'm sure. But this is technically like you've done many of these races before. And I guess for me, for the uninitiated, first question is why?
Yeah.
And I guess the second one is, do they get easier?
So they don't get easier, and I'm hesitant to talk about easier because all of these races are very different. But if we're talking about understanding discomfort, if we're talking about building a resilient mindset, talking about some mental strength, these things don't get easier, but you become accustomed to a way of thinking and a way of doing. And I think the more that you, David Goggins uses a term called callousing the mind, which I think is super relevant, and it's very descriptive, isn't it?
It's
It's
a
like
monster, David
you're
Goggins,
constantly callousing the mind. Like the stronger you can make that mind. It's not one thing that you do, it's all of the things that you do that come together to create a strong mindset. So in terms of, no, they don't get easier. This one will be particularly challenging. There's only one person I know that's done both the Marathon des Sables across the Sahara Desert and this race. So I messaged him and I said, look, mate, I'm going to sign up to this Ice Ultra. What are your thoughts in terms of, give me some comparison points.
Yeah.
And he said, put it this way. He said, if you wrapped up all of the days that you spent in the Sahara crossing those sand dunes, he's like, it doesn't compare to a single day on this Ice Ultra. Wow. He's like, it's that bad.
Promising.
He said it's horrific, which is what we're looking for. I mean, so that was before I signed up. I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So I'm going to sign up for it. So,
but again, you're out there, and I think we'll link this back to the mindset, and I think the topic of this podcast will be around that as well, in different formats. But when you're out there, nobody around you, you're not trying to prove anything to anybody else but yourself.
Exactly.
Right. So like I'm sure there's this massive dialogue that starts happening in your mind. We've talked about that as well. Why am I doing this? Right. And your body starts telling you like, just stop. Like, what are you doing? And there is a source of power that is greater than, that keeps you going. Like there should be something that you're tapping into that provides you with this energy through training and through the race. What is that?
I think for me, there's, and for everyone, there's two sides to this. There's the internal and then there's the external motivation. So internal is understanding your why. Why are you trying to do this? I've been through things in the past. I went through cancer, as a lot of people know. I made a promise to myself a long time ago to make sure that I squeeze as much life out of life, and that's a phrase I keep going back to because it's very descriptive for me. It's getting everything that we can. I want to experience everything that I can, and in terms of business, it means sometimes it's burying yourself in doing as much as you can, growing a company, being ambitious. But when it comes to this side of things, it's about exploring. For me, it's an adventure. It's not about the kilometers. It's about everything else. It's standing there on a frozen lake in the middle of the Arctic on my own, pitch black, kilometers from anywhere that I should be, and just thinking, wow, like not many people end up here. Like this is an experience that I will go to the grave with. And those are the moments that I'm searching for. those are the moments that I'm trying to make sure that I don't coast through life being comfortable, making the comfortable decisions, taking the easy route and just cruising. I want to feel the pain. I want to experience the adrenaline and push those boundaries as much as possible. And then over time, that was the kind of the starting point of why I wanted to do those things. And then I started to realize only afterwards the benefits that you get from doing that, which is the strength of mind. It's the ability to deal with chaos, ability to deal with stress. And then you come back into civilian life after doing an event like that, and you're like, wow, this is
with
so
a bag box of
this is so much easier. So it's tools, right? But and that's it, man.
100%, man. And I think, look, I want to maybe take you back a little bit to the first one that you've ever decided to do, because I think this links to 3 stages of mindset. A lot of the times when we're thinking of things that we want to achieve in life, we go through 3 stages. I feel one is it's not possible. Other people, like the first stage of belief, right? And if we're talking about the belief system is, for example, like starting your own company, running your first marathon. Like if you were to speak to me, of course, and you know this, like if you were to speak to me a few weeks ago, even, or a few months ago, I'd be like, man, there's no way.
I can almost see this 3-step process of the conversations I've had with you over the last 6 months.
Exactly, right?
We're going to get onto your marathon running in a minute, mate.
Yeah. So, and this is it, because I was reflecting on those kind of like different stages, and I think one of them is the non-belief. Like, no, I cannot do this, right? It's for other people. It's not for me. Second is, it's like, I can potentially do it, but how? What's the way? Like, how can I do
Where
this?
do I start?
Yeah, where do I start? I've got the will to do it, but like, where do I go? And then, the I guess the third part of it is, it's inevitably for me. It's for me. This is, this is something I can do. It's just a matter of, I believe I can do it. It's for me, no matter what comes my way. And there will be a lot of shit coming our way. But it's for me. Right?
It's owning the outcome, right?
Exactly.
And deciding that you want that outcome, and anything that stands between you and that outcome is manageable because you've decided that you want that outcome.
100%. And that's where the belief runs or provides you with that amount of power. So bringing you back to the first ultra that you've ever decided to do, do you remember going through these kind of like stages, or what made you, or what pushed you? Because sometimes people need to hit rock bottom to get pushed to the belief stage, or to the place where this is for me, I'm going to do it.
So look, it's a good question, because what actually happened in my first ultra is I fell to pieces. So I didn't prepare properly. I just thought I was going on an adventure. I thought it'd be great to go into the mountains for a few hours, and it was an 80-kilometer run through the Welsh mountains, which is the same area of Wales that all the that they do the SAS selection on. So it's a pretty intense space. And I'd basically been doing like 20-kilometer runs, maybe 25K, and that was my absolute limit. And this was an 80K run. So by the time I got to 60 kilometers in, something like that, like my body was just in bits. And I'd had severe food poisoning the day before. I'd been in bed for sort of 15, 16 hours, sweating through the sheets, and then woke up, ate some energy balls, took some Buscopan because my guts were all over the place, and then started running, and it was a really tough time. Anyway, the reason why that was so formative is because that was rock bottom for me. I came back. I wasn't happy with how I performed, how I'd behaved, because I was basically complaining. I wasn't strong, and that was me hitting the bottom. And it was the conscious decision then to say, do I stay here? Do I never do one of these races again? And say, oh, you know what? It's
not for me.
Make up any excuse. It's not for me. Just whatever. You can sell yourself whatever story you need to. And that's when I sat there and thought, no, I have to find a way back from this, and it's going to have to be bigger. It's going to have to be scarier, and it's going to have to be a goal that, if achieved, all of this is washed away instantly. It can't be the same level. It has to be harder, tougher, worse, so that when I get back from it and I've hopefully succeeded, and this was the big gamble, because if I'd failed on both, then that would have broken me. And that's when I did the Marathon des Sables across the Sahara. And I sat on that plane on the way in thinking I fell apart on the last 80K run through the Welsh mountains, and now I'm sat on a plane and I'm about to do 250 through the Sahara Desert. Discovery Channel calls this the toughest foot race on earth. So I might have taken it to the extreme a little bit, but it did what I had hoped it did, because I achieved it, because I went through that process. I forgot about the previous race. That wasn't me anymore. Nice. I'd broken that chain. It was in the back of my mind all the time. I wasn't happy with myself. And
you've created a new belief system, and almost like a new identity in a way of what's possible, right? Like there's a new horizon of possibilities that then allowed you to do that again and again and again.
Exactly. It goes back to your point earlier about, owning that outcome. For me, the outcome was not being the person after the first race. It was being the person I wanted to be after that second race. And that can be, you can relate that to anything in life. If we all make mistakes, and quite often it's when we hit rock bottom that's one of the strongest motivating factors. It's what you do next.
Yeah.
And it's the strongest motivating factor to then succeed is when you've come from hitting that rock bottom. But tell us about the story that you're going through at the moment, mate. But you and I have spent a lot of time. We've been traveling together recently, and we've spoken a lot about these things. And you've been on a journey, and over the last, let's say, couple of years. And all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you tell me, after me trying to get you to do come and join us for a run and blah blah blah.
Happening.
And you were in phase 1 for a long time. It's not me, it's other people.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you go and do this crazy stuff, but not me. And then you wake up and you're like, cool. So I'm going to run a marathon.
Yeah.
And what next? And then it was how, right? I don't know how, but
yeah. So I'll take you through the thinking process. I think, look, because we were having those conversations quite often, I would say, or and there's a decent amount of people around me, and yourself kind of like sitting on the top there, which are challenging life all the time, right? There's in different ways, and we all do in our perspectives. But I think when it comes to our physical existence, I felt like I was lacking in that department a little bit. Like I didn't really have a challenge that pushed me to an uncomfortable situation or zone, and I thought that if I was to continue telling myself that it was not for me, I would get in a bigger problem later on in life. So I thought taking that ownership now and, working towards a goal that definitely scares me. Like I've never ran a marathon. The maximum I've run is 10K. And the trainer that I'm working with, Rob, this morning, he goes, so when you ran the 10K, what was the maximum that you've run? I was like, 5. So he's like, you just went in and doubled. It is like, and I did finish the 10K. It's, for a lot of people, it's a warm up, but that was painful, of course, when I was going through it. But I think what I wanted to do this time around is aim for something that definitely is a lot more scarier, which is a marathon. And then working backwards and, and enjoying the process in a way. So I think that's from a why perspective, the thing that I'm looking to get out of it is discipline in the mind and creating more discipline and almost like, it was easy for me to say, today I'm too tired. There's a lot of meetings. I don't feel good. I'm not going to train. So now it's not really an option anymore because there's a goal to work towards. And there's a race date, which is coming closer. So I think that puts you in more of like the do more and kind of think less mindset and that will allow you to learn more about your body as well. And, whether it's mind elasticity or callousing the mind and understanding where the limits are, I haven't really pushed anywhere close to the limits, and I'm interested to find out where these limits are for me, right?
Mate, so it's really powerful, and it shows the power of setting goals that scare you, right? There's a real power to that because that will force you to push your boundaries. It's when that alarm goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning, nobody wants to get up. No,
4:45 this morning.
Or 4:45, right? Like nobody wants to wake up at that time. But it's easier to get out of bed for sure when the goal that you've set for yourself scares you. If you're trying to run a slightly faster 5K, then that's probably not going to get you out of bed every morning, keep you super motivated, keep you on track. So it's the power of setting that goal that you can't yet achieve. You cannot run that marathon right now. But you've convinced yourself that you will be able to, and you have to go through that process. And every big goal has a significant process, and you have to enjoy that process 100%. As much as you enjoy the outcome, right?
And I think for me, the two key things there is accountability, that now I'm accountable to many people around me, and that keeps me going. The second is coaching, right? Is understanding there's other people around me that I can reach out to and ask for help because they've done this before, and it kind of provides you that roadmap. And I think relating this to a little bit maybe to the business side, the accountability I feel, let's say, when we run a business is the people that we've got. We've got that accountability to the team around us that this ship should keep going. And if it doesn't, something happens, we just need to make sure everybody on the ship is okay. So I think from an accountability perspective, it's whatever goal you're trying to set, it's important to understand or to be accountable to somebody. for the output. So that's one thing. And then reach out and ask for help from people around you. And there will be a lot of people around you that probably have done it before or can give you good advice. And that will, at least you're not in it alone, right? And that'll give you that sort of support system.
I fully agree. I mean, you build your ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And once you've decided on what you need to do in order to achieve your goal, you start to look for those people that can support along the way, and you build out that ecosystem. Sometimes that can be a very specific choice. It's hiring a coach, it's getting a mentor. Other times it can be choosing to spend more time with certain people because they have the mindset that you also are looking for in order to achieve your goals. So you build that ecosystem, and it becomes a support system.
Nice.